The NBA world has been circling with trades, and yesterday we saw another blockbuster one go down where the Sacramento Kings sent De'Aaron Fox to his desired destination in the San Antonio Spurs, and in return received Zach LaVine while the Chicago Bulls got the rest of it. And we're going to be diving in and looking at this package, going over who win, who ultimately lost, and my overall breakdown. We'll be diving into all of this and more on this episode of Switch City. I'm Bruce Velez. Without further ado, let's dive into it. So I know I'm a little bit on this trade, but I was out last night and I had some other work to do today, but I wanted to get my thoughts and opinions out on this channel. So like I mentioned, we see from Shams Charania yesterday, the Spurs acquiring De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin, the Kings acquiring Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, and 3 first-round picks, 2025 via Charlotte, 2027 versus San Antonio, and 2031 versus Minnesota, and 3 second-round picks, the 2025 one from the Bulls, 2028 from Denver, and their own 2028 pick back, where the Bulls received Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 first-round pick via back the San Antonio Spurs. And we're going to get into all of this. First, we'll be talking about the Spurs. So like we said, the Spurs got De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin, and overall, they are the big winners of this deal. Like I mentioned, they get the best player in this trade in De'Aaron Fox, who is 27 years old, still in the prime of his career, and even though he wants an extension, he wants to be on a team, and San Antonio has the money and be willing to give him the extension. San Antonio wanted a point guard, an all-star point guard, to play alongside Victor Wembanyama, and this is the perfect running mate for him. The pick and roll on this type of duo is going to be lethal. I'm telling you, the pick and pop is going to be lethal with Victor Wembanyama. De'Aaron Fox complements Victor Wembanyama so much. His passing ability is going to be fantastic alongside the big man as well, and I realistically can't wait to see what they get done. They also got Jordan McLaughlin, who's a, pretty solid bench scorer, had some run with the Timberwolves, with the Kings. Maybe he could find a little bit of a role with this Spurs team. And if not, he's just a throw-in contract for them. Like I said, the Spurs also in this deal did not have to give up any of their young talent. No Stephon Castle, no Keldon Johnson, no Jeremy Sohan, no Devin Vassell. They kept all of those pieces alongside the Atlanta Hawks first round picks as well. A-plus deal from the San Antonio Spurs. They get the best player in this thing. They get what they want, a player that's going to play alongside Victor Wembanyama, and they did not have to give up any of their potential capital that they could still evaluate to play with Wembanyama and Fox to grow with them, or use in other deals to get other superstars to pair alongside these two. I think it is a huge win from San Antonio. Now, when looking at this from Sacramento's standpoint, we see that they got Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, and 3 first-round picks alongside 3 second-round picks. But when you look at this and you really analyze it, you realize that that 2025 Charlotte first-round pick is not going to be a first-round pick, as it is a top 14 protected pick, which means it will be converted into 2 second-rounders, which basically means the Sacramento Kings got Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, 2 first-round picks, and 5 seconds for a player in De'Aaron Fox, and did not get any of the valuable pieces that they wanted from San Antonio, like Castle, like Vassell, like Johnson, like Sohan, any of those players, which is just very, very puzzling. They did get Sidy Cissoko, but he is a younger project player from France. So again, the Kings are going to have to be investing in that, and the Kings have been able to do that historically well with their franchise in investing in these type of players. But Zach LaVine is the main guy that they got, and Zach LaVine is a player that they've had a lot of interest in, dating back to a couple years ago, when they offered Zach LaVine a contract in restricted free agency, which ultimately the Bulls matched. So for Zach LaVine, he is going to a team that desperately does want him, one that has been connected to him, not only just a couple years ago when trying to sign him, but last year when trying to trade for him, and this season trying to trade for him. So that is nice. He gets to go back to California as well. I know it's not the Lakers like he necessarily realistically wanted, but playing in California is something that Zach LaVine has wanted, and he's getting to play with his old teammate DeMar DeRozan. But one thing that you do see with this is kind of the Kings are basically the Chicago Bulls from last year. They're running it with Levine, running it with DeRozan. We've already seen this duo run. Yes, they have Sabonis over Vucevic, which I think is an upgrade, obviously, at this point. But this team's ceiling is basically a high caliber playoff team. And if that's what they want to be because of the 17-year playoff drought, because of the small market, if that's what is going to make the front office happy, if that's what's going to make the fans happy, then go and go for it. Obviously, don't trade for young talent. Don't go towards the bottom. But I do best believe that they could have gotten some extra young draft capital instead of one of those first or even some better first round picks like an Hawks first round pick. And they also did not get their own pick back, their pick swap from the San Antonio Spurs in this deal as well, which was a little bit puzzling. But they do get Zach LaVine. They are going to look to contend with this roster. Once again, he's going to be playing with DeMar DeRozan, which obviously DeRozan didn't leave Chicago because of his issue with Zach LaVine. He left because he didn't see them going anywhere. But now, maybe with Zach LaVine coming back, he feels that LaVine can bring some added offense that he was missing alongside Domantas Sabonis, a little bit of an upgraded big, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, and we'll get to see how well this Kings team really does develop. And lastly, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls, who a lot of people think got the short end of the stick here. They ultimately gave up Zach LaVine and only got Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter Jr. in their own pick back via San Antonio, which they traded to San Antonio when they went for DeMar DeRozan. So obviously getting that pick back, that is going to be key for the Bulls. It allows them to tank. It allows them to fully go towards the bottom. And that's something as an NBA fan that I've been pushing and asking for the last couple seasons. So I'm very glad to see Chicago fully embracing this rebuild. I do expect them to make more moves on the edges. Guys like Nikola Vucevic, possibly a guy in Javon Carter, Talen Horton-Tucker, a lot of other guys I do expect to be moved around the edges here in Chicago, and that can make for even more of a crazy deadline. But ultimately, they did get the short end of the stick here, and what this really ultimately reveals to us is how small that trade package for Zach LaVine really was, how low his trade value really was for this team, for the Bulls, as they ultimately were trying to move him, trying to get deals done, but getting a package back of Kevin Huerter, a player who you possibly could move on next season as a 1-for-1. Zach Collins, again, another player you can move off of. And Trey Jones is another young piece, but you already have so many guards with Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Josh Giddey you just traded for. I don't necessarily know the fit for that either. I feel like the Bulls here just found a way to get off of Zach LaVine's contract and still getting their first round pick to allow them to tank, but ultimately still gives them no bright spot, still gives them, no young talent alongside of Matas Buzelis or anything like that to really invest in. It's basically the Bulls washing away with Zach LaVine, admitting that they're going to go into that rebuild and banking on getting a top 3 pick to either bring in Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, or Dylan Harper to really set this franchise in the right direction and to fully commit to that rebuild. Ultimately, I think the Bulls get the worst grade here, but they did move off of the Zach LaVine contract and still can start their rebuild. So I do look at it in a bright light for them. I'll give them a C. I'll ultimately give the Kings a C as well, as I think they could have gotten a little bit better for De'Aaron Fox, even though I do like the Zach LaVine addition. And I think that the Kings will still be competing in the Western Conference with Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan. Maybe make some more defensive moves around the edges as well. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. And obviously, I think the big winner here is the Spurs. They get the player that they want to pair up with their all-star in Victor Wembanyama. They didn't have to give up any of their big draft capital of players or picks, and they have the money to sign De'Aaron Fox, and he wanted to go to San Antonio. So those are all big wins for the franchise. Like I said, trade deadline is absolutely crazy. The moves have been going absolutely wild, and there's going to be more and more coming through. So we're going to be breaking down everything here on Switch City for you guys. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date, make sure to like, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the trade down below in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out, everyone.